is the Rams roster building strategy sustainable? I feel like they make these moves and Niner fans kind of just scoff like, well, you can't do that over and over. It's just not. It's going to catch up to them. And like they just have a ring. Now they're champions, and it seems like they're not concerned in the least the way the 49ers are very cautious and conservative in their budgeting. So what do you think? Is the Rams roster building strategy sustainable?
Let me say first and foremost that I am not one of those guys that says, oh, the salary cap is a myth, right? No, it's not a myth. It's very real. It's just a framework of rules that exist that you have to operate within. But within that, you can get extremely creative about how you operate within it. And so there are conservative approaches, which it would seem the 49ers on some respects are following this offseason. And then there are the Rams where it's like, hey, let's blow it out of the water. Let's do this thing. Like, forget about what we need something, go get it. Screw those draft picks. Mm-hmm. I think winning the Super Bowl allowed the Rams to continue to print money as they had. I really do believe that gave them the freedom to continue swinging for the fences. Because if they had lost to the 49ers in the NFC Championship game, the storyline would have been they overspent, they overcommitted. Now they've got their backs up against the wall. They've won nothing. But because of a few plays here or there, they win that game. They go on to win the Super Bowl. It now gives them the freedom. Sean McVay is freaking Superman in the LA market. He has the right to do whatever he wants because he proved his strategy to be a winning one.
Absolutely. But the Rams have been committed to this strategy for a few years.
Yeah, 3 or 4 now.
First to it. Like the Niners, everyone used to do it the way the Niners do it. The Niners are kind of old school in the sense of like mid 2000s to early 2010s. And that was build through the draft. You build through the draft. You supplement through free agency. Why? Because the draft picks are cheaper. The free agent, you overspend in free agency. They used to say you can't win a Super Bowl in the offseason. You can't buy yourself a Super. Who were the teams that used to try to do that? The Washington, the Giants. It was we'd always laugh at him like, you don't look at New England. You don't do that. Dallas. But there were a few reasons for that. One, the cap was way lower 10 years ago. Way lower. Also, there was this myth that it would ruin your culture, right? If you spend all your money,
paying your own guys.
You got to pay your own guys.
Right? They came up there.
If you don't reward your own guys, you bring in these other, it ruins your culture. Well, that's been proven false. That's just totally false. Sorry. Like that's ridiculous.
The entire league has shifted in that regard. Everybody's all about business. Everybody's all about the bag, right? So yeah, they don't care.
You're gonna get it somewhere. So forget that. And the other thing is the cap really is it's exploding.
It's huge.
I mean, barring years where there's global pandemics, I think that the NFL's these teams are looking at it as like, you know what? There's a cap, but like it's so why don't we just spend money and just backload everything and bank on there not being another global pandemic? That's pretty much what I want to say 10 to 15 teams in the league are operating like right now. And the Niners aren't there because they are doing business as usual with Parag.
Yeah, and you heard Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch hint at this, that like, hey, we don't want to do this in free agency because you are overspending on those contracts. You mentioned that. But the problem is, not the problem. What I see it is, it's only a problem to overspend on those players if you get it wrong. And so the Rams, like it or not, have made some key aggressive moves and gotten it correct in doing so. So if you overspend on a player who's really freaking good, but you overspend a little bit, that's offset. If you make a move like the 49ers did and make some misses in Malcolm Smith, Quan Alexander, like those sting. And now you've got a scar and you're like, well, we don't want to overspend in free agency, right? We'd rather be prudent.
Also, when you overspend on a player in free agency, like in 2 years, he's under market. Like he would have been way even more expensive.
Right.
So that's kind of that sticker shock is just sort of like that year. The prices are always going up, especially with the cap going up.
Especially now.
What the Rams have proven is like, everyone says you have to build through the draft. Well, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. The problem with building through the draft is no one's good at drafting. It's so hard. And you could trade Khalil Mack for a bunch of first round picks. How many are you going to whiff on? How many are you going to spend on Damon Arnett? Seriously, like no one's good at this. No. Some people are better than others, but there's a lot of misses involved, even with the best teams. And I think the best teams just want a lot of picks so they can miss more often.
That's right. Take more shots.
With the Ram show is like, look, we're going to spend our assets on people we know are the truth. Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford. We're not going to, like, the Niners are over here being like, yeah, we believe in Trey Lance. Whereas he can't play yet, but we believe in him. Like, well,
Yeah.
you know, the Rams didn't do that. The Rams don't mess around. They get guys they know are proven, and they're like, screw these draft picks, dude.
Yeah.
We'll get a bunch of day 2 and day 3 people and supplement.
And if you spend 2 first-round picks to go trade for someone that's a proven commodity, and you were going to miss on one of those first-round picks anyway, now you have ended up with that solid player. True, you're now paying a veteran salary to that player instead of a rookie wage contract. But again, you know what you have in that individual.
Sorry. You don't have freaking Javon Kinlaw on your team. You know what I'm saying? You don't have
Right.
Mike McGlinchey on your team. I'm just saying. Even people that like Mike McGlinchey be like, yeah, I mean, if you were a 3rd-round pick, you wouldn't be mad. Right, of course.
Right. Even if he were a late first-round
Yeah.
pick, if he were end of the first round, I wouldn't be mad. I'm not mad to begin with, but I would be more pleased if he were a late first.